Seeking Arrangement is one of the websites that hooks sugar babies up with sugar daddies. Now, I'm sure you guys all know what that is at this point, but for those of you who don't, a sugar daddy is someone who takes care of someone financially, helps them pay for their tuition, and if it's not tuition that they need help with, any type of financial hardship can be taken care of by a sugar daddy.
Yeah, it's not really tuition, it's more shoes.
You don't know that, though. I think
shoeition.
No, that's not true. I think that there are plenty of people who can't afford their tuition and as a result resort to some of these websites and look for an old man who's going to take care of them financially as long as they give it up.
Yeah, except if you're in school, I don't think most girls are going to do that.
But you're wrong.
I don't know.
You're wrong based on the stats that I'm about to read your ass. How about that?
Bring it on. I don't buy it.
All right, so let's get to it. So Seeking Arrangement actually started releasing more and more stats on the number of college students who are looking for that type of arrangement. And the way that it works is you have to have a university email address in order to sign up and get a special rate or whatever. So they're able to determine whether or not someone is actually a college student, right? Okay, so here's what they found. Now, let's start off with this amazing fact. Currently, the average student graduates with an average of $28,400 in debt. Okay, that's just the average. Some people have much higher student loan debt, and it's depressing because it takes them a whopping 14 years on average just to pay that debt off. Okay? Wow. Yeah. So you become indentured servants after you graduate. You know, you're just paying off these loans for, you know, if you're lucky, 14 years, but for a lot of people, it's longer than that. All right, so now let's get to the stats. More than 1.4 million students have signed up as members on seekingarrangement.com, including nearly 1 million in the United States. Now, we've talked about this story before, and I'm sure some of you are wondering why we're bringing it back up again. Well, they did an analysis to figure out where the sugar babies and sugar daddies are concentrated, and interestingly enough, the majority of them are in southern states. Mm-hmm. All right, so colleges with the highest growth in babies in 2014. They're looking at 2014 alone. Now, to your point, Ben, you see the numbers down there, and it's in the hundreds. So Georgia State University saw an increase in sugar babies. Kent State University, New York University
two of those schools 400. Are good.
Yeah, they are. There are a lot of good schools here. Arizona State University. And actually, the University of Texas at Austin had the biggest increase in the number of college students signing up for their service.
Wow.
Cities with the highest density of daddies. So if you're looking for a sugar daddy, apparently Atlanta is the place to be, followed by Vancouver, Orlando, San Francisco, Las Vegas, Tampa, Washington, D.C., Boston, Seattle, and Austin.
Just do me a favor. In 9 months, when we find out that most of the women on this list somehow figured out a way to get a .edu email address, just remind me.
I will. Okay. I'll give you credit when credit is due.
Okay.
I definitely will. All right, so U.S. colleges with the highest number of babies. NYU has the highest number. They have 1,057 women.
I only got into two schools. NYU was one of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you know, and look, this really goes back to the issue of college tuition, right? So right now, we never got to this story, but one of the biggest issues with state schools specifically is that back in the day, the state would actually pay for a higher portion of the tuition for students. That way their tuition would be much lower, right? So they would fund the state schools or the community colleges, and that would actually keep tuition low. But now students are paying more for the education or funding the education more than states are. As a result, states cutting funding, students are paying more, they're bringing on more debt to themselves, and they have a hard time paying it off. So an arrangement like this actually sounds pretty good to them.
Yeah, I get it. I get it technically. But I got it. And first of all, look, if the guys are just writing checks for tuition, then it's pretty obvious what it's for. You know, then it's not for Jimmy Choo.
By the way, okay, so let me add something to that.
You're
the worst. You're playing the role of Cenk Uygur today in more ways than one.
Cenk Uygur would not have come up with shoeition. Okay,
he wouldn't, because he has no idea what Jimmy Choo is.
That's true.
But nonetheless, I've got to give you credit for that, by the way. I'm sure that in these cases, it's not just tuition that they're paying for, right? But I think that that's the main reason, and then it just kind of evolves into other reasons as well.
Yeah, sure. Look,
I'm going to be honest with you. I was lucky, and I didn't have to resort to this. if
You just did it by choice, right?
I just did it by choice.
Right.
I just,
you're
really
like, hey, look,
sleeping
I'm
with older
19,
men.
and what I want to be is having sex with a 56-year-old man. That's what I'm looking
There's
forward to.
nothing wrong with that, right?
No, it's hot. What are you talking about? Yeah.
Anyway, but if I felt forced into a situation like this financially, yeah, like if I'm sleeping with someone that I'm unattracted to, like I do want more than just my tuition paid off. Like, take care of me. Why not? Like I don't begrudge the women who do it.
Also, I'll defend the women a little further. I'm sure that you got some choices. You don't even have to be unattracted to them, and they don't have to be 56. They could be. You could be 19. They could be in their 40s. You know, and maybe you're like, oh, this guy works out. He's okay. Like that's not the. I mean, there are women who would find that attractive, and they're getting their tuition paid for. I'm just saying, it's possible that they could be doing this without being like, okay, you know.
So I actually...
This was my impersonation of a woman having a bad time during sex.
It's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
No, but I realized something. So if you're a man who's financially successful, you're established, you've got it going on, it's really not that difficult for you to find a woman who's interested in you. Like maybe it's that they just specifically want insanely, absurdly young women.
I think look, if I can be honest with not sounding creepy, like, yeah, the idea is, yes, if you're successful and wealthy, if you add in that you're good looking, yes, I'm sure you can do fine. It doesn't mean you can do fine whenever you want, right? And like on a Tuesday or Thursday when it's like, I just like, what I like to just go to dinner and just have sex with somebody. Like if you don't have someone, you can't make that happen. Or you could go to a club. You're 44, you don't want to go to a club.
Right.
Let alone 54. So the idea that someone is sort of on call to hang out and watch The Bachelorette with you, you know, and then I could see that there's an appeal to that. I would feel like I was paying for sex because
You
you're
are.
paying for sex. Right. So, but I get that. So even if you're doing okay, like you could meet a girl but she'd probably want to have a relationship with you, and here you could have a 20-year-old Georgia State student and think it was just great. The flip side is it's going to cost you $80,000 over a couple of years, right?
Christ.
So
But if you're,
it's really it's going to have to be like Tuesday and Thursday.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're obscenely rich, it's probably not a lot of money for you.